7 decades since the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, around 80 new fragments of the ancient texts have been revealed to the public.
When the world first heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were considered merely ancient religious documents. Thousands of years old, fragmented, and incomplete pages, almost impossible for humans to read and piece together. But now the story is suddenly changing. This time, the work wasn't done by human eyes or guesswork, but with the help of AI. The AI scanned these scattered fragments one by one, observed their patterns, understood the logic behind the words, and the resulting findings have left historians speechless. Some sentences have emerged that had never been fully read before.
Now scientists have found a way to unravel the mystery by using artificial intelligence to read the scrolls without opening them.
New scientific research and artificial intelligence have provided clues that could change the entire timeline of human history. Scientists are now using a technology that allows them to read the scrolls without even opening them. This means that secrets that have been locked away for 2,000 years are now being revealed for the first time. Recently, with the help of artificial intelligence and quantum computing, letters are being read that human eyes could never see. Hidden authors, secret messages, and possibly the original handwritten manuscripts of the true authors, everything is coming to light. Before we delve into the details, please subscribe to the channel as we regularly bring you research-based videos like this. Stay tuned until the end of this video, because the final revelation will force you to look at everything from a different perspective. Today, the Dead Sea Scrolls are once again causing a stir worldwide, but this time, the reason isn't a new cave or a new scroll. The reason is artificial intelligence. Recently, AI read these thousands of years old scrolls from a new perspective and identified patterns, word structures, and hidden clues that human eyes and minds had overlooked for decades. This is why historians, religious experts, and scientists are all surprised and a little worried. But before we delve into what AI discovered that surprised the experts, it's essential to understand how the Dead Sea Scrolls were actually found. The Dead Sea Scrolls weren't discovered through a scientific mission or with the help of modern technology. Their discovery was entirely a matter of chance. In the 1940s, some Bedouin shepherds were wandering in the hills near the Qumran area, searching for their lost sheep. During this time, one of the shepherds casually threw a stone into a cave. He heard the sound of pottery breaking inside. When they entered the cave, they found several clay jars. Inside these jars were ancient scrolls, wrapped and preserved for centuries in the dark, dry environment. At first glance, the scrolls appeared incredibly fragile. The parchment was yellowed, the edges were crumbling, and the ink was faded in many places. Some scrolls were loose, revealing ancient Hebrew script, while others were still tightly bound. Gradually, scholars realized that these were no ordinary documents. They contained the oldest known handwritten copies of Hebrew scriptures, along with rules, articles, agreements, and everyday records that offered a glimpse into the thoughts and lifestyles of the people of that era. But as significant as this discovery was, it also presented a major problem. Most of the scrolls were incomplete. Many were burned, many were broken into tiny fragments, and some pieces were smaller than a fingertip. Furthermore, these scrolls were written in ancient languages such as Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, which were challenging to read and understand. Scholars spent years trying to piece together these fragments, translate them, and understand their context, but much remained incomplete. And now, decades later, AI has accomplished what the human mind couldn't fully achieve. It has pieced together these scattered fragments and discovered new connections. This is why the question is being raised again today. Have we truly understood the Dead Sea Scrolls until now? And do they contain something that could change our understanding of history? This is the question that is keeping experts awake at night. Not all the scrolls were alike. Some contained familiar parts of the Bible, but many scrolls contained rules, prayers, hymns, and ideas that were considered quite unusual for that period. The problem was that most of the scrolls had deteriorated over time. Many were so badly damaged that it was difficult to understand what was written on them. Words were missing in some places, and entire lines were cut off in others. Moreover, they were written in different ancient languages, making their interpretation even more difficult. Scholars from around the world worked on these fragments for years. They tried to piece together the small fragments, like solving a very old and incomplete puzzle. Some scrolls were deciphered, but many remained completely silent. The more they tried, the more they realized that much was still hidden. Gradually, a question began to take hold in everyone's mind. What if the greatest secrets were hidden in the parts that had not yet been deciphered? Could those writings change our perspective on the Bible or ancient history? Was there something hidden within those faded letters, something deliberately concealed? These questions lingered unanswered for years. No concrete answers were found until now. Recently, scientists have employed a highly advanced technology called quantum AI. With the help of this tool, they are now attempting to decipher ancient texts that humans have previously been unable to understand. And the results that are emerging are not only challenging history, but also our beliefs and human understanding. But what exactly did they discover? We'll get to that in a moment. First, it's important to understand why this tool is so special. Quantum AI has completely transformed the way we view ancient history. Previously, researchers painstakingly pieced together fragments of scrolls by hand. This process was incredibly slow and often based on guesswork. Missing sections had to be filled in through educated speculation. But now, the same work is being done in mere moments. This AI is not only fast, but also a deeply insightful system. It can detect writing in places where the human eye sees nothing. It identifies connections between different scrolls that no one had previously considered. Some scrolls have turned out to be far older than expected, perhaps dating back to the time when the people mentioned in religious texts were alive. Most interestingly, this AI doesn't settle on a single answer. It presents multiple possibilities, as if different layers of the past are unfolding simultaneously. This is why experts are both amazed and apprehensive. In high-tech labs around the world, scientists are now working with a tool that sounds futuristic, but is very real. This tool is helping to uncover information that has been hidden for more than 2,000 years. And the exciting thing is, this story is just beginning. Before the advent of quantum AI, the dating of the Dead Sea Scrolls, determining when they were written, was largely based on conjecture. Experts could only say that the scrolls likely dated from approximately 300 years before to 200 years after the birth of Jesus. And this estimate was mostly based on the style of writing, a field called paleography. That is, the style of the letters, the writing technique, the ink dispersion. All these factors were used to estimate the time period. But there was a major problem. There were very few confirmed samples from that era to make accurate comparisons. It was like trying to determine the age of an old letter simply by looking at how the writer held the pen. You might get a rough estimate, but you couldn't be certain. This is where quantum AI completely changed the game. Scientists took about 24 scrolls whose age had already been determined through radiocarbon dating. The system was then trained on the handwriting of these scrolls, what the letters looked like during that period, how the ink flowed, and what kind of lines were visible. Gradually, the AI learned to recognize the styles and began associating them with specific time frames. Like a sharp-witted detective, it connected the clues in the handwriting to real, measurable dates. Now, for the first time, the situation is such that historians are not just making educated guesses. The scrolls are now receiving time tagging: when they were written, which period they belong to, and how likely it is that they were written during that time. And the things that are emerging from this process could shake the foundations of many old assumptions, because if the age of a scroll turns out to be different from what we thought, then the history associated with it also changes. Amidst this change, a particular AI tool has come into much discussion: Enoch. It was specifically designed to meticulously analyze the handwriting of ancient scrolls. It doesn't just look at the words, but also captures things like the shape of each letter, its slant, the thickness of the strokes, and the rhythm of the writing. Enoch created a mathematical model by learning from thousands of ancient samples and used it to estimate the age of the scrolls. It is said that in many cases these results were surprisingly accurate, often very close to the actual date, with a difference of only a few decades. And this is not just about one software program. Real quantum computing machines are also rapidly advancing, like Google's Sycamore and IBM's Q System 1. These are no longer just science fiction. They exist. They are learning, and they are constantly getting faster. Now the real question is, if today they are revealing the truth about the time and handwriting of these scrolls, what will they add tomorrow? Because the next revelation after AI might force you to change the way you look at history, religion, and ancient texts. And believe me, this seems like just the beginning. When the AI tool Enoch began to examine ancient handwriting in detail, it noticed something that no one expected. Until now, historians believed that the Hasmonean style came first, followed by the Herodian style, like a straight line of time. But Enoch's analysis shook this belief. AI revealed that both writing styles were being used simultaneously during the same period. This meant that the Jewish scribes of that time were not abandoning the older methods, but rather deliberately continuing to use them. Perhaps they wanted to hold on to their traditions and identity in a rapidly changing world. Then came the moment that truly astonished the researchers. When the AI analyzed fragments from the books of Daniel and Ecclesiastes, the results were far more significant than expected. According to the AI, these fragments dated back to the very time when these books are believed to have been first written. This meant they couldn't be later copies, but were possibly the original, authentic writings from which everything began. This was a groundbreaking discovery, as it called into question the entire timeline of these ancient texts. Following this, scientists tested Enoch on more than 130 other scrolls, and what they discovered surprised everyone even more. The dates of most of the scrolls turned out to be much older than previously estimated. Some scrolls, which were associated with the Qumran community, actually predated the settlement of people in that area. This clearly meant that these texts were written elsewhere and later brought there. This discovery also suggested that some parts of the Bible might not be as recent as previously believed. Enoch's significance wasn't limited to just providing dates. It completely changed the perspective on history. It helped understand how deeply people were connected to their culture, how seemingly small differences in writing actually held immense significance, and that some ancient texts might be even more authentic than anyone had ever imagined. It was as if the AI had revealed things that were hidden in plain sight. And the story didn't end there. Quantum AI, using high-tech cameras and sophisticated computer systems, then scanned the Dead Sea Scrolls in even greater detail. The results were not only intriguing, but also somewhat unsettling. When the faded Hebrew script was meticulously analyzed, Strange patterns emerged within the text. These weren't ordinary repetitions or poetic structures. They appeared to be deliberate systems designed to conceal or protect information, much like how data is protected with codes and encryption today. And most surprisingly, these patterns weren't random. They showed a clear order and intention, further complicating the understanding of history. The patterns that emerged didn't seem to be accidental at all. It appeared that the scribes who wrote these scrolls were working according to certain rules, much like how secret codes are created today. In several places, repeating groups of numbers were found, and certain sequences appeared repeatedly, reminding scientists of prime numbers and the binary system of zeros and ones. The implication was clear. These writings were not the result of random thought, but rather were governed by a precise mathematical system. Surprisingly, such coding systems are used in today's technology, but the scrolls date back to a time when such thinking was considered unimaginable. This is where the matter became even more complicated. Researchers found that some of the symbols, recurring patterns, and temporal indicators in the scrolls matched the positions of stars in ancient Chinese star charts. When these patterns were compared to 2,000-year-old Chinese star maps, several similarities emerged. It seemed that the writers of the scrolls had hidden astronomical information within their text. This reinforced the idea that the Dead Sea Scrolls are not merely religious texts, but may contain other, deeper meanings. Quantum AI has also revealed further clues suggesting that ancient texts contained hidden information about the universe, power, and spiritual knowledge. Many ancient civilizations believed that certain knowledge was not meant for everyone, but reserved for a select few. However, hints of such esoteric teachings in early Jewish writings challenged the notion that Jewish tradition was limited to rules and external structures. These discoveries also suggest that later Jewish mysticism or early Christian thought may not have arisen spontaneously, but had roots in a much earlier period. It's possible that this knowledge was deliberately encoded to protect it from misuse or suppression. The question now is, what does all this mean? Did the scribes who wrote the scrolls possess a profound truth that connected mathematics, language, and the cosmos? Sometimes the greatest discoveries begin with the smallest things: a faint ink mark, a strange character, a tiny fragment that perhaps points to a solar event, an event recorded long after that period. As quantum AI continues to analyze these unusual numerical patterns, experts are divided. Some dismiss it as mere coincidence. Others believe it's a deliberate message left from the past. If proven true, it could forever change our understanding of history and faith. As quantum AI delved deeper into the Dead Sea Scrolls, the situation became even more intriguing. Then something truly astonishing emerged. The AI identified two tiny fragments, now considered among the oldest surviving portions of the Bible. These fragments are known as 4Q Daniel C and 4Q Coelita. Scientists now believe that these texts were written during the lifetime of the individuals to whom the books are attributed. Until now, most scholars believed that the biblical texts were copied long after the original authors had died. That is, someone wrote them down, then the next generation copied them again, making changes and edits along the way. And the text continued to evolve in this manner. For this reason, these scrolls were generally considered second-hand versions, but the new results from quantum AI suggest a completely different story. According to them, these might be the original drafts, the words written for the very first time, without any later alterations. If this proves true, the implications are enormous. It would mean that we are reading the actual words of those people, exactly as they wrote them. This thought is both unsettling and thrilling. The Book of Daniel scroll may have been written around 160 BCE, while the Book of Ecclesiastes text could be even older, perhaps from 240 BCE. For years, it has been commonly believed that King Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes approximately 900 years earlier. But now, even this assumption is being questioned. These revelations have sparked a fierce debate. Teachers, historians, and religious leaders are all trying to understand these findings from their own perspectives. Some are incredibly excited by the possibility, as it makes the biblical narrative feel even closer and more authentic. Others are feeling uneasy, as it challenges many long-held beliefs and established understandings. The idea that we might be reading lines written by people who actually witnessed those events is incredibly powerful. These scrolls have forced people to look at the Bible in a completely new light. If these texts are indeed that old, it's possible that some parts of the Bible were written very close to the time of the events they describe. For some, this strengthens their faith, but for others, it raises questions that are not easily answered. If these new dates prove correct, questions naturally arise. What else have we been wrong about? What parts of history will need to be reinterpreted or perhaps even rewritten? This is where the story becomes even more complicated. In fact, there is still no consensus on where the scrolls came from. Some experts believe they were written or collected by a community called the Essenes, who lived peacefully around Qumran. Others suggest that the scrolls came from a major library in Jerusalem and were hidden for safekeeping during a time of war. Some scholars even believe they came from various locations and reflect different schools of thought and beliefs. The truth is, no one can say with complete certainty what the correct answer is. The fact that these scrolls remained hidden for more than 2,000 years only deepens the mystery. Did someone deliberately try to protect them from destruction? Were they hidden with the intention that they would only be revealed at the right time? Or do they contain a message for future generations? Some believe these were things that would have been dangerous to understand at the time. Some see it as a divine sign, while others call it simply a strange coincidence. As more experts began to study the scrolls, more questions arose than answers. Why are some words spelled differently? Why are some books included and others completely missing? Were there texts that were never found? Every new answer raised new questions, and for those who love mysteries, it all became even more intriguing. Sometimes discoveries don't provide clear answers. Instead, they deepen the mystery. Perhaps that's why the story of the Dead Sea Scrolls continues to captivate people today. These aren't just ancient documents, but questions that could change the way we view the Bible and history. And for the curious, the realization was clear. The real mystery had only just begun. Now, with the help of quantum AI's intelligent tools, words that have been silent for centuries are slowly beginning to tell their stories again. What once seemed like mere fragments are now revealing their full meaning. These discoveries are not only providing new facts, but also opening up new ideas, new questions, and a new way of understanding the thoughts and daily lives of people from ancient times. As quantum AI decoded the Dead Sea Scrolls, the interest of researchers worldwide grew. This technology had already accomplished incredibly difficult tasks, such as recognizing ancient Hebrew script and separating overlapping texts. The scrolls had been severely damaged by time, water, fire, and previous attempts at restoration. Yet, the new AI-powered software began to decipher them with astonishing accuracy. The scrolls are now being viewed in ways that ancient scholars could only have dreamed of. This entire endeavor involved not only historians but also linguists and computer experts. People from different countries were working together towards a common goal. Teams in Israel, the United States, and Europe were sharing their findings through online databases and digital libraries. The Israel Antiquities Authority was continuously taking specialized photographs of the scroll fragments using a technique called multispectral imaging. This technique revealed ink and markings that were completely invisible to the naked eye. Meanwhile, the AI began to identify patterns in the ancient script, revealing which fragments had once belonged to the same scroll, even though they had been scattered thousands of years ago. But the story didn't end there. As new research emerged, it became clear that many of the scrolls were far older than previously thought. Some fragments contained versions of familiar biblical books that differed slightly from today's Bible. Words were changed in some places, and sentences were written differently in others. This raised new questions. Were these early drafts that were later revised? Or were people living in different regions writing the same story in their own way? Or perhaps these were parts of books that disappeared over time and whose existence was lost to history. The AI software was also getting better every day. It learned something from every new piece of text it read. One scan made the next scan more intelligent. The more data it processed, the faster and more accurately it worked. Tasks that previously took humans years to complete were now being done in weeks, and sometimes even in just a few days. It was as if a whole library buried under sand and stones was slowly being unearthed, much to the delight of scholars. Some scrolls were found inside clay jars in caves near Qumran. Many fragments may still be buried underground or lost forever. The scrolls found so far have come from 11 caves, but many believe the story doesn't end there. Perhaps more caves and fragments are waiting to be discovered. With the help of AI, even the smallest broken fragment is no longer considered useless. It can be pieced together, understood, and connected to a larger whole. And that's why most researchers say this journey is far from over. In fact, it's just the beginning. Thousands of fragments still need to be properly deciphered. If even a few of them reveal a new story, an unknown name, or a different perspective, it could change the way humanity views its ancient history. As this work progresses, researchers are realizing more and more clearly that the Dead Sea Scrolls are not just ancient religious documents, but a direct glimpse into the thoughts, fears, hopes, and ways of understanding the world of the people of that time. These fragments contain not only matters of faith, but also aspects of daily life, laws, power structures, and the concerns of ordinary people. Many experts also believe that this technology will be used on the texts of other ancient civilizations in the future. Ancient writings from places like Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and China may reveal new secrets in this way. If this happens, our understanding of human history could change completely. Perhaps we will have to accept that our ancestors knew far more than we do, but we simply lacked the means to understand their language and symbols. Now the biggest question is, if something emerges from these scrolls in the future that is completely different from our known history, will we be ready to accept it? And if you want to be among the first to understand such mysteries and discoveries, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that every new discovery reaches you first.